Hello, fellow minis! When is Clash Mini going global? The developers recently gave us an answer for that. Now, if you didn't know, the developers hold a stage channel almost every month where they actually answer the community's questions. If you want to watch them all you have to do is join the official Clash Mini Discord server and check out their announcements channel. Or you can just watch this video because I'm going to tell you everything that they talked about. They cover a lot of content over an hour, and I've condensed their last couple sessions to this video to answer your questions about Clash Mini as efficiently as I can. We'll start off by talking about global, and after that, we'll cover a little bit of a sneak peek for what's coming in future Clash Mini updates. But first, before we continue, I want to give a big thank you to Rise of Kingdoms for sponsoring this video. Rise of Kingdoms is a real-time strategy game for mobile and PC where you build up your own kingdom and conquer other civilizations. Click that link below to download for free. Also, it's now available on PC for smoother performance and more controls. In Rise of Kingdoms, you choose one of 13 different cultures to build a kingdom with commanders based off of real people in history. You even get unique troops for your armies as your kingdom advances in technology, depending on which civilization you go with. For example, once you unlock the quarry, you can then unlock irrigation and handsaw, and then those tools each unlock different things as well. There are 14 tiers of technologies to unlock, so you can get exactly what your army needs. Another cool way to upgrade your soldiers is by joining an alliance and using specific alliance technologies to bolster your defenses. Working with your alliance and getting very familiar with your territory will make it extremely difficult for other players to infiltrate and take over your land. Another thing I really like about the game is that the layout of your city is entirely up to you. If you're like me, you want your city looking nice and clean and organized. But if aesthetics aren't your thing, you can always put things together according to convenience. So click that link in the description below to download the game now and use code ROKTechPow to instantly receive some great bonuses to get you on your way. And once again, a huge thank you to Rise of Kingdoms for sponsoring this video.
Technology is power. Build your own kingdom.
So one of the questions that was asked to the developers is whether or not Clash Mini was reaching their expectations and if it's on track for a global release. First of all, they did say that the game is on a pretty good path, which is really awesome, especially after the last update. There's been a lot of uplift within the team. The feedback has been really good and the metrics have been really good as well. The team is feeling just much better about the game overall, and there seems to be a lot of excitement around the future of Clash Mini among the team. And that is exactly what we want to hear, because if the team is feeling disappointed about the game, it's just more likely that they're going to kill the game. But from the sounds of it, they feel like the game is on the right track. But as always, that does not mean that they don't have some challenges that they have to address first. Supercell has very high standards for a game to go global. They're not okay with the game just being good or fine. Like that. Nah, that's not gonna cut it. They want the game to be as massive as possible. Their actual mission statement is to create games that as many people as possible will play for years and that they will remember forever. That's a really big mission statement. And the Clash Mini developers outlined 3 major changes that need to be addressed before the game can go global. The number one issue that they talked about is player retention. That's a game developer term for people just continuing to play the game, okay? For the first 4 big updates, like players pretty much just played for, from what it sounds like, 1 to 2 months. And that doesn't even come close to Supercell's standard of being a game that people will play for years. Like 1 month does not cut it. With that said though, we just saw update 5 and they said they didn't have the stats just yet, but they are hopeful that the retention will be a little bit better since they completely reworked how mini and hero progression actually works. Now I'm gonna be referring to somebody named Fan for this video. This is the Clash Mini game lead. And he specifically mentioned that one of the ways that they want to keep the game fresh is to introduce special events and add more game modes. Right now, we only have rumbles and duos, and they're played a little bit differently. They really are, but the core gameplay experience of both of them are very similar. And in fact, like it's literally like instead of a 2v2, it's an 8-person free-for-all, kind of. Now, when answering a different question, they actually talked a little bit about the possibility of doing a bunch of different game modes. They could do 4-player modes, 16-player modes. They even talked about doing something absolutely crazy like a 100-player mode, right? That's just theoretical. They're not concrete plans, or maybe they are, then we just don't know. But if the most recent Gizmo update was any indicator, I think we can expect to be surprised, which doesn't really make sense, but that's kind of like what their goal seems to be like. Fans specifically mentioned wanting to create a brand new experience within Clash Mini that is unlike the current game modes. Like, I think we have to think a little bit bigger than just, oh yeah, we're gonna play regular Clash Mini as we know it, but it's 16 players instead, right? It's gonna be bigger. There's gonna be different win conditions. There's gonna be different goals and stuff like that. And that sounds really exciting. And I really agree that more game modes and special challenges will really help keep Clash Mini feel fresh and exciting, and hopefully it will lead to players actually playing longer and coming back to the game more frequently as well, because that sounds like what the number one issue the game is currently facing. The second major feature that is missing from the game are social features. Clash Mini doesn't have any sort of way for you to like add friends or invite friends or do friendly matches other than like the clan system, and even the clan system is honestly pretty lacking. Raid bosses are pretty stale and they feel kind of like a grind, especially now that they've been out for so long. They could definitely have a good rework. There's really not a big social reason to keep coming back to Clash Mini. In fact, I haven't chatted with my clan in like it's been a while. To be fair, I haven't chatted with my Brawl Stars club either, except for on my free-to-play account I have. But the third major feature missing from the game, according to the game team, is potential for esports. The game has no replay, so the only way you can share things with people is through like screenshots or if you're screen recording, which most people aren't. There's no way for you to spectate other people playing live. There's no way to host tournaments or play in tournaments because there's no way to spectate people. There's not really a way to watch even the most competitive players actively playing matches like live. Like TV Royale is awesome, or Brawl TV is awesome because you can literally see the top of the ladder facing off against each other. And I will agree, I don't think this is like a number one major concern that they have to do immediately, but sometime before global, this needs to be addressed because they're missing huge potential at the moment because Clash Mini is very fun to watch. At least I think it is. I haven't watched competitive Clash Mini because it doesn't exist. The only Clash Mini matches that I've watched, aside from my own, are other YouTubers, but like, and not to say anything about any of the other YouTubers. In fact, Itsu is actually very competitive, but like, I want to see the best of the best compete, and Itsu honestly might be the best of the best, but you guys get where I'm coming from. Make sure to subscribe to Itsu. He's fantastic. He's got a Clash Mini channel. So I'm sorry to anybody that is watching this, hoping that Clash Mini is going global sometime in the next couple of months. It doesn't sound likely. The developers didn't give us a specific timeline for how long it would take for them to add all of these features into the game, but to me, it sounds like it's gonna be at least another 2 big updates, and that could take another 6 months or more. But I actually think that's a good thing, okay? Hang on here for a sec. The developers said that they do not want to rush the game because the game has such great potential, and I agree with that in a very big way, okay? There's a big reason why I've invested so much time into playing Clash Mini, and I've dedicated so much time into creating content for the game. You guys don't know that. Well, of course you don't know this. I don't make the revenue back on my Clash Mini videos that I pay my editor to edit them. Like, I straight up lose money unless the video has a sponsor, which thank you to the sponsor of today's video. But like, I believe in the game and I think it's gonna do fantastic, and that's why I'm dedicated to not just my time, but also my money into Clash Mini, because I love this game and I know how much potential it has. The game team, they want to get some time to know Clash Mini a little bit before they can jump into global, so they can really give it the best chance that it possibly can have. And honestly, like, I've played all the Supercell games that they've released since Brawl Stars went global, and I can see why every single one of them has been killed. I don't see that happening for Clash Mini. And the developer team is very passionate about the game. In fact, I just loved listening to Fan talk about his passion for the game. I don't even think he really meant to talk about his passion. He would just talk about other stuff, and you could just tell how much he loves Clash Mini. He's so passionate about it. He really seems to have a really fantastic perspective on game design, and I really agree with a lot of his philosophies for how PvP games should actually be developed. He's rockstar team lead for the game. That's really good to have that in your corner. Honestly, I think that players waiting for global should be very excited that the team is taking the time, because it sounds like they have a lot of awesome content planned for us. In fact, let's talk about that awesome content planned for us. When they were asked if we could expect a big update soon, they said that their goal is to always bring good surprises to players. They didn't necessarily say the word big, but like, that's obviously going to, you know, be based off of your own personal perspective. But whether the updates happen every 4 months or 1 month or whatever, they want to give players content that they weren't expecting and that they love, right? And actually, when they were asked how frequently they plan on releasing new gizmos, they said that once they improve their workflow, their plan is to release a new hero, a new mini, and a new gizmo with every single season. And the seasons are only 1 month long. So that means every single month we're getting 3 new troops basically, which is just crazy. Now, they did specifically say that that's going to depend on how much they're able to work on. Like that, obviously that's what they want to do. And they're workflow isn't quite ready for that yet. In fact, they just released an update with 10 gizmos in one single update, and that was a very big change. Gizmos are awesome. They're really great. If you guys haven't played them, they're really fun. So they're going to work on their workflow a little bit. They probably won't release gizmos for the next update, maybe 2, maybe even 3, while they are focusing on that workflow. But once they're there, I think that we can expect a lot of new content very frequently, and that is really exciting to hear. Also, the developers gave us a little bit of a sneak peek of what's coming in the next update. I don't think Vlad wanted Fan to spoil the beans quite yet. And we don't have specific details, but Fan did mention that it's all going to be about adaptability and flexibility. Now, I'm kind of paraphrasing him, so take all this with a grain of salt. This is not exactly what's happening, but he said something along the lines of, right now the flexibility level is like 5, and we want to take it to like 50 in the next update. What? 10 times more flexibility? We don't know exactly what that means, but let's look at all the constraints of battle that we currently have. Right now, I'd say that our biggest limitation is the number of minis that we can put in our deck. We get 1 hero and 5 minis, and if they're bumping the flexibility from a 5 to a 50, like it makes me think that we'll be able to play from our entire collection of minis in like the middle of battle. Like, you won't even make decks anymore. You'll just place, like, maybe you'll make like a like, here's what I would like to play, but like, here's my favorite cards. But like I don't know. It sounds like, from the sounds of it, there's a chance that we'll be able to play from our entire collection. And honestly, I would love that, because like, if we could specifically counter the minis that the enemy is placing down live, then like that would be cool. It might be a little bit confusing, and I don't know exactly how it would work, but like, that would be really cool. Now, the second biggest limitation that we have is the fact that we can only choose from 3 minis to place down at a time, or like 6 minis per turn if we re-roll our available minis. If they're going for more flexibility, it makes sense that they might just allow us to play any mini that we want, or even increase it from 3 to 5, or maybe even 5 or 10 minis that we could possibly put down. But let's just think about what it would be like if we could place down any single mini that we want out of all of our mini collection. A way for them to simplify things would be to give us like our favorite minis that we could quickly have access to, or if we have a mini already on the field, in order to upgrade it, all you'd have to do is just tap on it once and then tap on it a second time to select the upgrade that you want. That could be kind of interesting and would allow for a lot of adaptability depending on what the enemy team is actually doing. You could even sell your minis and then put down a completely whole new roster of minis to try and counter the specific hero that you're playing against. Now, the third biggest limitation that we have in the game is the amount of elixir that we are able to spend every single turn. We only have 6, which means that we can place a maximum of 3 minis every turn, and most of the time it's 2 minis. I don't see them increasing the number of elixir in the current game modes that we have, but I could see them adding a double elixir mode where we get to upgrade a lot more of our minis. Now, a fourth way we are limited in our gameplay is the number of stars that our minis can get. It's currently capped at 3 stars with a base ability and 3 star abilities. Fan did actually specifically talk about the potential of adding a 4th star to all minis. However, he said that this was just an idea. In fact, he specifically said that he hadn't talked to the other developers about this, so it's not a guaranteed thing to happen. But like, with that said, I really love the idea of a 4-star mini that like could actually compete against level 15 heroes, or even be stronger than level 15 heroes. Fans specifically talked about how cool it would be to get a 3 elixir 4-star mini kind of as like your main hero, and then you could use your actual hero to act as a support unit to support that main mini. It's kind of cool. Now, none of these are guaranteed to happen. Most of them are just my own personal ideas. I don't know what they're going to do for sure. I don't have specific insight, but I would love it if Clash Mini somehow made these changes possible, because being able to adapt to your opponent would make Clash Mini much more fun, in my opinion. The game is an auto battler, and that means there's only so much skill that you can do to outskill your opponent. Like, sometimes you'll jump into a battle, and if the enemy team has good counters to your deck, sometimes there's nothing you can do, and you lose as soon as you hit battle, and that's a major flaw of the game, actually. But if they added more flexibility, then so that you could pull from your entire roster of minis, then the more knowledge that you have of the minis and how to counter specific troops would actually increase the skill cap so that you could counter your opponent. That sounds really awesome, would incredibly increase the skill cap of the game. My only concern is that like, it has to be simple enough for new players to pick up, or for players that just don't have experience with this type of game, because otherwise if they jump into a match and they just barely downloaded it and they have access access to 50 different heroes and minis in every single battle, that's going to be incredibly overwhelming. If Clash Mini can somehow give us more adaptability and flexibility while also making the game simple enough for everybody, that would truly help Clash Mini reach its full potential. Okay, now let's talk about more things for Clash Mini's future. According to Fan, they are very seriously considering removing the Star Exchange. And actually, I didn't realize this, they actually filmed this this video before I talked about in my most recent 100% honest update review about how much I dislike the Star Exchange. So props to them. I probably should have watched that before this that last video. But if you don't know what the Star Exchange is, this is a big improvement in my opinion, because if you upgrade a mini, it will now stay upgraded forever. Every time you upgrade a mini, it's permanent progression onto your account. The developer team came to the conclusion that the Star Exchange is confusing, especially for new players and returning players. Returning players actually would come back and they will always see a screen asking them to reset their minis, but they don't know what's good or bad anymore. Plus, it's a big waste of time to have to like spend time re-upgrading your minis. Well, I've talked about this enough. I don't need to talk more about it. But originally they created the Star Reset because they wanted to completely rework every mini every single reset. So like every reset would be like playing a brand new Clash Mini all over again. But after hitting beta, they realized that they don't have the time to be able to do something so huge every single update, and they realized that that would probably shake things up way too much for most of the players. And when I heard that, I was like, that makes so much sense. The Star Exchange finally makes sense to me. I've been so confused about it this entire time, and I'm really glad that I finally understand why they put it into the game in the first place. I know that some people do like the Star Exchange and might be disappointed once it's removed, or if it's removed, I guess it's still not concrete yet, but I've never been a fan of it. Like, I tried to give it a good chance, wasn't my taste. Also, like I said, it's not guaranteed, but I will be very happy if they do remove it. Now, if you watched my most recent video, you know that my biggest gripe with the most recent update are crown shards. They split up hero progression into 3 different rarity of currencies, and the developers were able to explain their thought process behind it. The goal wasn't to make it complicated. It wasn't even to make money. In fact, one of their main goals with the last update was to make it easier for players to fully upgrade their heroes. Ultimately, their goal with splitting the hero currencies wasn't even to concentrate the heroes around different tiers or anything like that. The whole reason behind splitting crown shards was to protect new players and to help new players reach a competitive level. If there was just one currency, new players wouldn't know how to spend their currencies. They might end up like leveling up all of their heroes at an equal level, and that would put them at a huge power disadvantage. But with 3 currencies all split up the way they are at different rarities, new players are essentially guided to fully upgrade one of their heroes much more quickly and a much more smooth fashion. And honestly, like, even though I have issues with the 3 different currencies, that is very true, and it makes a lot of sense. Fan said that he was able to get a level 15 hero, a max out hero, within 2 weeks of starting a new account, and I believe him based off of how the new system actually works out. That's awesome, right? The currencies might seem confusing, and they are, but they help new players reach level 15 so they can at least have one competitive hero very quickly. I think most of the issues that people have, aside from it just being confusing, is the fact that like high level players are collecting a bunch of common crown shards and they have nothing to do with them except for like you get to exchange some of them some days if the right thing pops up into your shop. But the team is aware of that. They said that they know where the issue is, but it takes a long time for most players to actually get to the point where all their heroes are level 10 or higher, and they're really focusing on those new players, and I'm glad that they're doing that. I think that the system somehow needs to be optimized so that it's not so weird for long-term players, but really, helping more new players reach endgame is a higher priority, and in turn, that will actually make the game better for the long-term players as well, because things won't get stale, matchmaking will improve for them. It's just better all the way around. I really wish they could do something different, simplify the currencies while also kind of helping new players reach max level with their heroes sooner, but yeah, it's fine for now. There are other things I'd rather have them want to improve, like monetization in Clash Mini. This is the last thing I wanted to really talk about, and thankfully the developers talked a lot about their philosophies on monetization for the game. Specifically, they really don't want to follow the same pattern that other Supercell games have followed. Traditionally, Supercell games have put a lot of emphasis on monetizing power in their games. You can pay money very easily to get stronger so you can beat your opponent, and if you spend more money, or you've played longer than people, but mostly if you spend more money, you're gonna win more often, right? Even Brawl Stars, Supercell's most free-to-play friendly global game, had to increase the power level from 9 to 11 a year ago because they weren't monetizing power enough. That's just my own personal theory. theory, but like it makes sense. I don't, yeah, and I'm not gonna talk about that. This is my Clash Mini channel. Now, luckily, the team's philosophy, or at least fans' philosophy, is that PvP games should be more about fun and competitive gameplay instead of progression. And I loved to hear him say that. I just love his perspective on that. But that does bring other issues to the table. Now, Fan did specifically say that Supercell is not mainly concerned with revenue. Their main goal is to try and make better games and figure out how to monetize them later. But the more money that the game makes, the more things that they can actually spend money on in order to make their games better. Like esports or 3D animations for lore purposes and stuff like that, which was huge in Brawl Stars. And a lot of other things that really do matter, but that cost a lot of money. Even if Supercell isn't willing to blatantly say it out loud, Clash Mini, it has to make money in order for it to go global. Like they say that that's not one of their requirements. I'm determined that like it has to be true. They have to make money, and they just have to. That's just the truth. And if the developer team wants to keep it a very free-to-play friendly game, that means that they've got to monetize somewhere, and that means like cosmetics that's how they got to do it. And one of the biggest two pieces of feedback from the last update, not just from me but from pretty much everybody else that I saw, was about how they're monetizing cosmetics. First of all, players did not like fun boxes. In fact, I call them fun boxes. They're not fun. And I loved hearing Fan's personal opinion on fun boxes. He said that he feels like he made a big mistake when it came to them. And like, you know what, when he said that, I was like, this guy is down to earth. He is humble. I am so glad he is developing Clash Mini. He just straight up said it. He's like, I think I was naive and I made a mistake and I'm sorry. And he wants to make it more friendly. We don't know how he's going to do it or how the team is going to do it. And it's also really tricky because they want to make it a better experience for all players without making the players who did spend a lot of money on fun boxes feel too bad, because which I mean, I know that I'm in a weird position. I spent a lot of money on fun boxes and I would be happy if they just changed it. Like I knew how much money I was spending on it when it was going on. I knew how bad it was, but like I've talked about this before, I'm going to spend money on the game because I feel like I have to in order to create content for you guys. And also everything that I spend is actually a tax write-off because my job is creating content. So like, anyway, you get where I'm coming from. I'm gonna move on. The second big piece of feedback players gave was that the skins were too expensive, especially the Christmas skins. And I talked a lot about that as well. And they did explain what happened here, especially for the Christmas skins. They were actually planning to add some really awesome sound effects to the Christmas skins, but due to some tech issues that unfortunately could not be fixed until after the update, the effects could not be added. There were some really cool like sound effects and stuff like that, but they were going to release it for Christmas. They had to release it, the skins, and so like they kind of had to just put the prices where they were supposed to be as if the sound effects were added to it, and then add those sound effects in the future to make up for some of the costs. Like it's not very great to like say, hey guys, spend money now and you'll get it later. Like, I don't like that at all, but I understand where they're coming from, and I think they recognize that. I do. And in the future, they would also like to do a better job at showing us what kind of features each skin has to offer, like before you actually buy it, like attack animations, sound effects, winning animations, and so that you could see that before you actually buy the skins. Also, I think the most important thing though is that they did say that if they find out that they made some mistakes, they are willing to make those changes, but their number one priority is selling cosmetics instead of power, because that's the best way to make the game fun and competitive. And honestly, I love that. I do still think that the skins were overpriced due to my personal experience with cosmetics in other free-to-play mobile games. Like, this isn't League of Legends where you play one character for 45 minutes and you get to flex your skin on your enemies or your team the entire 45 minutes. This is a mobile game. You're gonna pick it up, you're gonna play it for a couple minutes, you're gonna put it away, and like the enemy might not even notice your skin because there are 12 troops all playing around doing all sorts of different actions. There's gonna be gizmos doing stuff on the board. Like, there's a lot that happens. They're not paying attention to skins, not nearly as much as like League of Legends might. But I fully support Clash Mini focusing on selling cosmetics over power. And if they need to make their skins overly expensive in order to avoid selling power, I'm all for it. In fact, I will proudly buy every skin in the game if it means that more players can play the game for free. We've already covered how, like, I'm a little bit of an exception to things, but you get where I'm coming from here. Also, there's really great news if you are playing for free. The team said that they feel very strongly about rewarding players for their long-term skills and achievements in the game. They specifically said that sometime in the future, they want to add a more reliable way for completely free-to-play players to get the really cool cosmetics that you can only get by playing the game. They also want to reward the players who might not be the most skilled but who actively play. And they want to reward players not just for spending, but also for their activity in the game and also for their skill. And Vlad said that this concept would very likely crystallize sometime in the next update and would become even more apparent in the updates after that. Honestly, after listening to the developers about Clash Mini's future, I'm just so excited. I really love that they are communicating with us, and I really like their perspective on the game design. And like, you never know, like I'll play games and I'm like, okay, I don't know how they feel about game design and like if I agree with them or not, but like you play it and it's fun, and then you find out, oh, they just want to monetize. Yeah, that's all they care about. That's not Clash Mini, and I'm really excited that it's very clear that they are very passionate about making Clash Mini the best game possible. And like, personally, I'm confident that it's just a matter of time before Clash Mini goes global, right? I just see it happening. I really do, especially with such an awesome team behind it that like seem to have all their priorities in order. But I want to know what your guys' thoughts are, so let me know in the comment section below. Make sure you subscribe for more Clash Mini content and news, and check out my videos right here. For now, this is KairosTime ticking by, and we will see you in Clash Mini.